So how exactly does a nonprofit charity, one created quite literally to save humanity, transform into the absolute most aggressive, highly valued corporate AI force on planet Earth? It is an incredible story. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to demystify the unauthorized, totally chaotic, and honestly just fascinating history of OpenAI. Based on Jan Monner's incredible deep dive, The Mission and the Money, we're going to explore this intense, unbelievable tension between an idealistic mission and the absolute astronomical costs of building machines that can actually think. Okay, let's dive into this. We'll be using the author's brilliantly structured 4 moves framework to act as our map through this whole history today. We've got the improbable paradox, move 1, the mission, move 2, betting on scale, move 3, public distribution, move 4, bending the structure, and finally, the unanswered question.
Part 1, the improbable paradox.
Okay, so how did an OpenAI lab actually become a closed-off, profit-driven juggernaut? To really grasp this paradox, you need to understand 2 terms. First is AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. This is the holy grail, right? A machine that can match or even exceed human intelligence across the board, not just on one specific narrow task. Second, and I want you to literally hold on to this word, compute. Compute refers to raw computational capacity, the specialized chips and those massive data centers required to train AI. Compute is the absolute expensive fuel that drives this entire narrative. Remember that word, because the hunger for compute, that's the real engine of our story.
Which brings us to move 1, the mission.
Let's go back to 2015. Technologists like Sam Altman and Elon Musk were looking at Google's AI dominance and feeling a real sense of dread. They feared a future where just one single corporation controlled AI. So, their masterstroke? Launching a non-profit. They seized the moral high ground. Listen to this promise from their founding announcement. They pledged to build AI unconstrained by a need to generate financial return. They deeply, truly believed that injecting a corporate profit motive into the race for AGI was the exact thing that could push someone to build something dangerous way too fast.
And this brilliantly illustrates the grand irony of that original promise. Because just about a decade later, this unconstrained nonprofit found itself entangled in funding rounds reportedly valuing the enterprise at a staggering $850 billion, right? No way! How do you go from a charity to a valuation nearing $1 trillion? Well, it all comes down to a radical scientific discovery they made along the way.
Move 2, betting on scale.
So early on, OpenAI decided to teach a system to play the incredibly complex video game Dota 2. But they didn't do it by clever, handcrafted design. They just poured massive amounts of compute into it. Brute force. And it worked. They learned a massive, contrarian lesson. Brute force scale and compute absolutely beats human design. So they took that lesson straight to language. And the recipe they used? Shockingly simple. Step 1, take a specific neural network design called a transformer. Step 2, feed it vast, ocean-sized amounts of human text. Step 3, give it one single, simple job. Predict the next word. By forcing the machine to play this incredibly narrow guessing game, but at a massive scale, it eventually developed something that looks exactly like human knowledge, reasoning, and grammar. It's like a giant puzzle coming together.
But here is the massive catch with betting on scale. It is unfathomably expensive. By 2019, the compute bill to train these models became so insanely large that the original nonprofit structure just began to buckle under the weight. To survive the arms race that they themselves had started, OpenAI had to turn to a corporate giant. Microsoft steps in with a staggering $1 billion investment, essentially trading their massive Azure cloud compute for a stake in OpenAI's future. The mission now fundamentally depended on the money.
Move 3, public distribution.
Now we're in the late 2022. They take this incredibly powerful language model, they polish it up using human feedback to make it helpful and conversational, and they literally just wrap it in a super frictionless, simple chat interface. Boom! The result was explosive. ChatGPT hit 100 million users in just 2 months. It became the fastest adopted consumer product in human history. By putting this tool directly into everyone's hands, OpenAI didn't just win the market, they created an unbeatable, self-reinforcing data engine. Millions of people were now out there voluntarily training and testing their AI every single day. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is move 4, bending the structure. You see, this world-altering success created a totally inevitable collision, a nonprofit board sitting on top of a massive commercial rocket ship. Just look at how this structure decays and bends over time. They start out in 2015 as a pure, idealistic nonprofit. Then in 2019, realizing they need billions for compute, they bend the rules and spin up a capped profit arm. By 2023, the tension between that safety mission and their astronomical commercial growth causes a massive board crisis. And finally, by 2025, they restructure entirely into a public benefit corporation just to take in the unlimited capital required to stay at the frontier. Whenever they needed more money to fund the next massive bet on compute, well, the rules simply had to bend.
And the ultimate breaking point? It happened over just 5 incredibly chaotic days in November 2023. The original, safety-focused board attempted to exercise its supreme legal authority by abruptly firing CEO Sam Altman. But, as we found out, formal authority is not the same as actual power. Within 5 days, that board was totally crushed by an overwhelming staff revolt and intense pressure from massive investors like Microsoft. Altman returned, and the board was completely replaced.
Now, this boardroom climax had a really profound aftermath. It triggered a steady exodus of OpenAI's key safety researchers. Chief scientist Ilya Sutskever departed. Safety leader Jan Leik resigned, publicly stating that safety had basically taken a backseat to shiny products. The dedicated superalignment team dissolved. It essentially proved that when the uncompromising safety mission and the relentless commercial machine finally collided, the commercial machine won, for sure.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 6, the unanswered question.
Because for all of the crazy corporate drama, the ultimate scientific ambiguity is still staring us in the face. What are they actually building today? Are they building true autonomous intelligence or just extraordinarily convincing pattern-matching machines? The answer to that changes literally everything. Just take in the staggering contrast of what OpenAI promised to be versus what it became. In 2015, they were a nonprofit, open-source, strictly mission-driven lab. By 2025, a public benefit corporation guarding closed models and driven by the need to generate immense profits to fund its compute. The mission statement might have survived, but the entire entity around it was completely transformed.
So, what does this all mean? It leaves us with this one final provocative thought. Was OpenAI's journey a tragedy of a corrupted mission, where noble ideals are just slowly swallowed whole by corporate greed? Or, given the brutal multi-billion-dollar realities of compute, was abandoning the nonprofit structure simply the unavoidable price of building the future of AGI? I'll leave that for you to decide. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the future.